Kokoroko are a neo-soul septet based in London. Since forming a decade ago, the band have become favourites of those in the know across 3 albums that fuse jazz, funk, highlife and soul. I caught up with Johan, Ayo and Herx ahead of their Sydney headline show to chat genre fusion, sonic evolution and more. Kokoroko.
Yes.
I'm James. I run a music blog called Hey You Listen to This. For those who maybe aren't familiar with your music, can I get you all to introduce yourselves?
My name's Johan and I play keyboards and synthesizers.
My name is Ayo and I play drums.
And my name is Herx and I play the bass guitar.
Congrats on Tough Times Never Last. Tell me about how the name ties into the message of the album.
Yeah, well, the name was first inspired by a meme. There's this uncle who is on holiday and he's really feeling himself and he's very proud. And he says a phrase, tough times never last, only tough people last. And yeah, I think when we recorded the album, it first was being suggested as a kind of like a joke, but the more we sat with it, the more the album kind of sounded that way. I think when you're creating music, a lot of course there's turmoil going on in the world just in general, but also it happens in each people's individual way in their personal life, what they're going through. And yeah, I feel like it was about 2-3 year journey making this record, so a lot of life happened and it felt like this was a space where we could just have so much joy in the room and enjoy community and enjoy what we do have around us. So it did feel like tough times never last, so it was fitting.
What a beautiful thing. You can really hear that in the music. There's a real sense of warmth and community both in the sound of the record and the artwork. What were some of the events that inspired that over that 3 years of life?
Oname, who's not here, one of the band leaders, he always says so much happened in that period of starting the album to it coming out. It's like makeups and breakups, and even like one of us became a parent as well. And even having someone that you've known for that long, been a bandmate with, suddenly having real life offspring like in the room with you, and now you're not just Johan, now you're Uncle Johan or Uncle Ayo or Uncle Herx. Stuff like that, brings you like so much closer together as people, and it changes how you interact with everyone, and equally it changes how you interact with music and the music industry and all the people that are part of this thing that we call Kokoroko. And I think that's all come out in the music.
You've established yourselves as a core component of London's soul and jazz scenes, which has just been this incredible flourishing thing, particularly over the last decade. How has working in such a musically fertile environment affected you guys as a band, or influenced you as a band?
As you said, in London there's so many bands that are just really doing their thing, that have been on the scene. Kind of when I joined Kokoroko in like the end of 2018, and the scene was kind of bubbling then. I remember hearing about United Vibrations, there was Yusef. Yeah, those are the bands that I kind of knew of, and seeing them as like inspiration, but also they're your peers, right? So kind of like it's a healthy dialogue and competition. You're seeing what they're doing, it's inspirational, and you're like, you know what? I would love to be able to try and like give my own kind of word and message into the London scene as well. Well, not just the London scene, just into music in general. It's definitely helped to spur me on personally. It's like a healthy dialogue with your peers, really.
You've introduced some features onto this record. How did it feel introducing other folks from outside of the Kokoroko family into the production of the record?
It felt really nice because we haven't done that so much previously. What's really nice about the people we have coming in is that we, if not all of us, most of us have established some form of a relationship with these artists, and like just really good people to hang, also of the diaspora as well. So there's a lot culturally that we can relate to, and of course they're just insane artists as well. Lulu, Demay, Ezekiel. So yeah, it's just I think probably more of it will happen as we go on, but I think more so than just getting anyone involved, it's kind of like somebody who it's important for them to be on the same wavelength as us.
How do you go about balancing the creative energies of 7 different musicians and then introducing other people into the fold?
When we have like a album making process, it usually begins with everyone being encouraged to go away and like write from their own perspective and come up with their own ideas. and we've got really good at kind of putting our heads together, if that makes sense. So someone can bring half an idea or like 3/4 of an idea, and we always kind of manage to connect the missing dots, if that makes sense. And I think that process is getting very, very, very refined, and we've been doing it for like nearly 10 years now, so it's not too hard to bring other people into that, or to have someone slot in. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's pretty easy now.
I first saw you play on your last visit to Australia when you toured Could We Be More, which was already a super groovy affair. I remember that show being like, everyone was dancing, having a really great time. This record is even dancier still. How have live audiences responded to that?
It's been amazing. Like I said, the first album was cool. It was still beautiful moments, but this time around, especially here in Australia, like we did the last show in Melbourne, and the people were singing along, like they're really singing their hearts out, dancing along. So at one point I was like, God, this is crazy, because I can't even hear myself like singing. Yeah, it's been so beautiful just to see people really like lost in the moment in the music, because that's what it's for. It makes the shows like unforgettable experiences. Australians, we love to get together and dance. And I mean, like people everywhere, of course, but I feel like your music is
not everywhere.
Really, no?
In most places, but there's certain parts of Europe where you got to warm them up to it a little bit.
Sure. Not the case here? Fantastic. I feel a certain national pride for that. With tracks like My Father in Heaven, the album's got some spiritual allusions. What sort of role does spirituality play in your music?
I think most, if not all of us, have been raised in fairly religious households. So I think all of us carry a strong like reverence, for God and our relationship with God, and other people's respective relationships with God, whatever those may be, and also because of the backgrounds we all come from, there's always a direct relationship between spirituality and music, and expressing that in a musical way, in different ways definitely, but that relationship is there. So when something like that comes up, especially something like My Father in Heaven, which is quite overtly spiritual, it's something that all of us kind of naturally can latch onto, if that makes sense. It's like there's not much needs to be said in that area or explained. And that's not to say that the rest of the music isn't spiritual. I'd say something like Never Lost is really spiritual. Or if you see, I guess you'll see tonight, like Sweetie, that song, for example, you see how everyone reacts in the audience when that song comes on. That's as spiritual as things can get. So yeah, I think it's something that kind of silently bonds all of us, because we never really speak about it often, to be honest, but it's definitely a spiritual undercurrent between all of us.
I think it also leads to what it can do emotionally for people. The fact that we've heard stories of people having like final moments with a friend that's like dying with the music, or like, you get what I'm saying, or like hear stories of it taking somebody out of a state of depression, or you know what I'm saying, like it's something gets put into the spiritual atmosphere that uplifts others, and I feel like we're kind of very much inspired by writing music that kind of just encourages people in general. And yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, I'm saying it's more the same thing, that at the end of the day, we're all spiritual kind of beings having like a human experience, and to try and remember that music is frequency, it's vibrations, and just to be a vessel to the music, then hopefully the music should like do what it needs to do, like come into shows, like if you need a release, if you need like a note or a word or a message, just music can do that. So yeah, we're just all vessels to music, basically.
It sounds like you're saying it delivers things that maybe words alone cannot. Can you expand on that a little bit?
I think because it breaks, like, even for example, say like language, like you could have somebody who doesn't speak English, because we get to travel quite a lot, and even though a lot of places tend to have some form of understanding, even if they don't, they can kind of understand the emotion and the feeling behind the music. So it kind of goes beyond the barriers of even language. So I think that's just one example I can think of at the top of my head. And I think it's the same with people. Sometimes, you know, when somebody's going through stuff, sometimes they might not need a bunch of words from you. They might just need your presence. You know what I'm saying? So it's a very similar thing to, like, sometimes words are not the answer, right? And sometimes vibrations and sounds are.
I totally agree. There's a healing aspect that isn't.
Definitely.
It's kind of ineffable. You can't really articulate.
Definitely.
Yeah. I'd love to talk a bit about musical backgrounds. What were some of the records you guys were listening to when you were starting to write and record the album?
Sheila spoke about this Ivo Taylor record.
My Love and Music.
There you go, My Love and Music, which is cool because it's Ivo Taylor and his band basically, for at least 3, I think it's 4 songs on it. I think at least 3 of them are in like a reggae sort of space. Do you know what I mean? But obviously them not being specialists in that music, they're not necessarily playing it in the same way like reggae artists, especially at that time from Jamaica, would have been playing it. But it's cool. It gives it like a charm and stuff, and the horn lines and stuff are super, super charming. And I think you hear that with like Never Lost and stuff like that. For me, when I was trying to write tunes on this album, I was thinking, how would D'Angelo go about writing an Afrobeat song?
Always, for me, like Parliament Funkadelic, Bootsy Collins, those kind of whenever I'm playing bass, I'm always want to keep it grooving and funky. Raphael Sadiq, as he says, always keep the bass moving.
To say something that's not been mentioned, some of the earlier hip hop, like say Common, the B era, and I think that definitely sipped its way into. What was nice about this record is we were able to expand our sound in comparison to the previous music we've released. And I think some of these sounds you would have maybe had a hint at if you came to like a Kokoroko sound check years ago. It's just we hadn't necessarily written our own songs in those particular sound worlds. So I think even as we go on, there will be more kind of influences you hear creep in because we've all heard different eras of music.
If you could play me any album, what would you play me?
I'm gonna go Lift Him Up by Ron Canoli. That album is incredible. It's a guy who blends gospel music with Latin American music, and it's incredible. The arrangement's incredible, the music's incredible, the message is incredible. To be honest, that record even got me kind of interested to drums in the first place. I used to pick that record out as a 2-year-old, play that record, and then take like wooden spoons and play on pots, and that's how my parents could tell like, oh, he's really into drumming, and kind of like it really got me excited about music in general. So yeah, Lift Him Up by Ron Canoli. It's an album I would suggest.
It's gonna sound stupid.
There are no wrong answers to this.
No, what's stupid is that I can't remember the name of the album.
Maybe that is the wrong answer.
Even though I listen to it all the time. It's Nourished by Time.
Oh yeah. The new one?
Yeah. What's it called?
It's
With the red cover.
Red cover. Yeah.
Yeah, I listened. Since it's come out this year, I've listened to that.
Let me look it up because that's going to be the passionate ones.
The passionate ones. If I could demonstrate what I'd want my catalogue to look like by the end of my career, I'd play you that album. He's got everything in there, if that makes sense. The production is amazing, but the production is an aid to good songwriting, which is how I see production. Do you know what I mean? I like the song first. It should sound good at a piano or a guitar first, and then use production to enhance that.
Sugar on top.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And it's kind of like alternative and indie-ish, but it's like Prince as well. Do you know what I mean? And still like really soulful and stuff. It's like bang in the sweet spot of what music for me should sound like. I haven't been inspired by a record like that in a long time.
For me, I'll probably say there's an album by an artist called Bilal, Firstborn Second, and there's a song called Sometimes. Just the journey it takes you on, the way he starts singing, it's like his voice almost sounds like a trumpet sometimes. He does this thing with his voice like a trumpet, but then his vocal ability is insane. And the music itself, it just takes you on these journeys. It's soulful. I'm saying neo soul, soulful, spiritual, gospel, funk. It's got everything in there, and his songwriting abilities is just amazing. It makes you feel. You almost feel like you're experiencing what he's singing about. So yeah, that'll be me. Yeah. An honorable mention, Any Jamiroquai. Yeah.
Is there an absolute favorite or even an absolute favorite track?
I'll say his first album, favorite track. I mean, he's got Cosmic Girl, Virtual Insanity, Drifting. All of them are crazy. Yeah, Little L. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Crazy,
yeah. Man, he was here like 2 years ago. He played
really?
one show in like South Australia.
Okay,
Have you guys been to Adelaide?
Yeah.
He played a festival there, and I flew over. I was like, I'm not missing
Yeah,
this,
you need
man.
to, man. Yeah.
It was just nuts.
I think he's on tour now, actually. Yeah.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh man, he hadn't been out here in like
Not yet.
15 years, something like that. So it was crazy.
Yeah.
Man, such a joy speaking to you guys. Thank you so
too, man.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.